Everyone walked past that box, covered in snow, sealed with tape, silent, forgotten. Just sitting there on the side of the road, like it was nothing, like it didn't matter. But one stray dog stopped. He didn't walk away. He didn't ignore it. He stayed. And what he did next changed 3 lives forever. Before we begin, take just a second to subscribe and drop your city in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'd love to know where you're watching from tonight. Red heart. Now, let's begin. It was one of the coldest nights of the year, a Thursday in late January, the kind of night where the cold doesn't just touch your skin, it gets inside your bones. Snow had been falling since late afternoon, quietly at first, then heavier, thicker, relentless. By nightfall, it had buried everything. The park benches, the sidewalks, the parked cars. Everything was white and frozen and still. The wind moved through the streets like something alive, howling between buildings, rattling old windows, pushing people off their paths and toward the warmth of their homes. And people listened. They pulled their coats tighter. They looked down at their shoes. They moved faster. No one was stopping tonight. No one had time for anything that wasn't warm. Near the edge of a quiet road, just off the main street, sat a small cardboard box. It wasn't big, maybe the size of a shoebox, or slightly larger. Brown, wet. One of the corners had already caved in from the weight of the snow gathering on top. It had been taped shut, not once, but many times over. Layer after layer of gray tape, wrapped tightly, as if someone had been afraid it might open on its own. There was no label on it, no name, no address, nothing to say who it belonged to or who had left it there. It just sat, half buried, slowly disappearing beneath the falling snow. And every single person who passed it kept walking, not far away, moving slowly through the snow-covered alley behind the row of shops, was a dog. He had no name, not one anyone had given him anyway. No collar, no tag, no microchip. He was a medium-sized mixed breed, brown and gray, with patches of white along his belly. His fur was thick but matted in places. His paws were cracked from months of walking on cold pavement. He was thin, too thin. You could see the outline of his ribs if you looked closely. He had been surviving on scraps, whatever the restaurant behind the alley threw out, whatever kind strangers left on the pavement sometimes, whatever he could find. He had no bed, no house, no one who looked for him when he didn't come home. But he was still here, still moving, still present in the world in a way that most people had stopped noticing long ago. That night, he moved slowly through the side street, nose close to the ground. He wasn't looking for food exactly. He was just moving, the way strays do, always moving because staying still in the cold too long is dangerous. And then he stopped, his head lifted, his ears, one folded, one half upright, turned slightly. Something. He took a few slow steps to the left. There, at the edge of the road, half buried under snow, was the box. He approached it carefully, the way animals approach things they don't understand. Slowly, with full attention, reading the air around it. He stopped about a foot away, and then he heard it. It was so faint you could have easily missed it. Beneath the sound of the wind, beneath the distant hum of a car engine somewhere far off, beneath the soft silence of falling snow, there was a sound, tiny, trembling, barely there. A cry, not a human cry, something smaller, something fragile, something that had been crying for a long time and was starting to lose the strength to keep going. The dog froze. Every part of him went still, ears forward, body low, eyes locked on the box. He stepped closer. He pressed his nose against the wet cardboard and inhaled. His whole body tensed. There was something alive inside that box. Something young, something frightened, something that needed help. He pulled back, looked at the box, looked up and down the street. Then he started scratching. His front paws hit the cardboard hard. Scratch, scratch, scratch. The tape held. The box barely moved. He tried from a different angle, attacking the seam along the top. His nails found the edge of the tape and pulled, but it stretched and snapped back. He barked once, waited, barked again, louder. A man in a heavy coat walked past on the other side of the street. He glanced over, frowned slightly, and kept walking. The dog watched him go, then turned back to the box. He tried biting the tape this time. His teeth caught it and he pulled, head shaking side to side like he was trying to tear something loose. But the tape was layered too thick, too strong, too deliberate. Whoever had sealed this box had not wanted it to be opened easily. He kept trying. Minutes passed. His paws were sore now. The cold had hardened the ground, and the cardboard edge was rough. But he didn't stop. He ran back into the street and barked at a young couple walking past. They flinched, startled. The woman grabbed the man's arm. "Shoo!" the man said, waving his hand. They walked faster. The dog went back to the box. Inside, the crying had gotten quieter. There's something deeply painful about watching someone ask for help and being ignored, and that's what this dog was doing. Not threatening, not begging for food, not chasing. He was asking, running to people, looking at them, running back. The universal signal that something is wrong, that someone needs to follow. And not one person stopped. A teenager walked past, headphones in, head down. A woman in a red jacket glanced at the dog, then at the box, and then checked her phone and moved on. An older man paused for just a second. You could see it, the moment of hesitation. And then he walked away too. Maybe they were afraid. Maybe they were tired. Maybe they told themselves it was nothing. Maybe they figured someone else would handle it. Someone else always handles it. The dog stood alone in the snow. He looked down the empty street. Then he walked back to the box, and he lay down beside it. His warm body pressed against the wet cardboard. He put his head on his paws, closed his eyes halfway. He wasn't leaving. If he couldn't open it, if he couldn't get help, he would at least give the thing inside whatever warmth he had left. Snow settled on his back. The cold bit through his fur. He didn't move. Several more minutes passed. The street was quieter now. Fewer people. The cold had driven most of them inside. And then something shifted in the dog. He stood up, shook the snow off his back, and he looked down the road with a kind of focus that was different from before. Not panicked, not desperate in a scattered way. Focused, like he had made a decision. He started walking, not running, walking with purpose, further down the street than he'd gone before. He turned a corner, and there, moving slowly along the icy footpath, carefully stepping around the patches of frozen ground, was an old woman. She was small, wrapped in a long dark coat and a wool headscarf. She carried a single cloth bag in one hand, groceries it looked like. She moved slowly, deliberately, the way people do when they know the ground can't be trusted. She wasn't in a hurry. She had nowhere urgent to be. The dog stopped directly in her path. She looked up. He looked at her, and then he barked, not aggressively but urgently, turned, ran a few steps, stopped, looked back. The old woman tilted her head. He did it again. Run, stop, look back. She had lived long enough to know when something was serious. 73 years on this earth had taught her a few things, one of them being that animals don't lie. They don't perform. They don't manipulate. They don't try to trick you into following them for no reason. If this dog wanted her to follow him, there was a reason. She adjusted the bag in her hand. "All right," she said quietly, to no one in particular, or maybe to him. She followed, slowly, carefully, one careful step at a time. The dog stayed just ahead of her, never too far, always checking back, always making sure she was still coming. He led her around the corner, down the short stretch of road, and stopped, right next to the box. He looked up at her, barked once, scratched the top of the box. The old woman stepped closer. She looked at it, the tape, the caved-in corner, the snow piled on top. She bent down carefully, one hand on her knee for balance. And then she heard it too. tiny, weak cry. Her face changed completely. She didn't hesitate. She set her bag down in the snow, pulled off her gloves with her teeth, and started tearing at the tape with her bare fingers. The cold had made her hands stiff, and the tape resisted, but she kept going, peeling it back layer by layer, ignoring the way the cold stung her fingers, ignoring the snow falling on her back as she crouched over the box. The dog stood right beside her, completely still now, watching, waiting. One last strip of tape. She pulled. The flaps of the box opened, and she looked inside. He was so small, a tiny puppy, maybe 4 or 5 weeks old, curled into himself as tightly as possible. Brown and white, with floppy ears and paws that seemed too big for his body. His eyes were barely open. His breathing was shallow and fast. He was shaking, not just shivering, trembling violently the way a body trembles when it's been cold for too long. He didn't bark. He didn't have the energy. He just made that tiny, broken sound, the last sound he had left. The old woman made a soft noise, somewhere between a gasp and a cry. She reached in with both hands, gently, so gently, and lifted him out. He was cold against her palms, too cold. She pressed him to her chest immediately, wrapping her coat around him, tucking him in close to her heartbeat. She whispered to him, soft words, the kind of words you use with things that are very small and very frightened and need to be told they're safe now. The stray dog looked up at her, at the puppy against her chest. And then, something remarkable happened. His tail moved, slowly at first, then more, back and forth. For the first time in a very long time, the stray dog wagged his tail. The old woman stood up carefully, cradling the puppy. She looked at the stray dog. He looked back at her. The snow fell between them. She thought about her small house, the quiet rooms, the empty spaces. She thought about how long it had been since anything living had come through her door. She looked at the dog, at the matted fur, the tired eyes, the cracked paws. She had been alone for a long time too. Come, she said, just that one word. And the dog, who had never followed anyone, who had survived by trusting no one, who had lived on the outside of every warm thing in the world, took a step forward, then another, and walked beside her, through the snow, toward home. Her house was small but warm, the kind of warm that hits you the moment you step through the door. The smell of it, the weight of it, the way it feels like the whole world outside stops mattering. She moved quickly despite her age. She laid the puppy near the radiator, wrapped first in a towel, then in a small blanket she pulled from a drawer like she'd been saving it. She warmed some milk, fed it to him slowly, drop by drop at first, then more as he started responding. The stray dog sat across the room, watching everything. He hadn't moved from the doorway when he first came in, as if he wasn't sure he was allowed to enter fully. She looked over at him. Come closer, she said. You're allowed. He crossed the room, lay down next to the puppy, and rested his chin on the edge of the blanket. They stayed like that all night. The next morning, the puppy was still alive. That was the first miracle. By the end of the second day, he had lifted his head on his own. By the fourth day, he had started moving around, wobbly, uncertain, bumping into things, but moving. By the end of the first week, he was eating properly, making noise, chasing the stray dog across the kitchen floor. The stray dog, for his part, was patient. He let the puppy crawl over him, lick his face, steal warmth from his fur. The old woman watched them. She fed them both. She gave them both names. She made space for them. In her home, in her routine, in the quiet life she had been living alone for years. And something changed in that house. The kind of change you can't always explain in words. Just a feeling, a shift, like air coming into a room that had been closed too long. Here is what's true. Puppy was abandoned in a box, left in the snow, sealed inside, and left to die. But a stray dog heard him and refused to walk away. And an old woman listened to a dog she didn't know and chose to follow him. 3 beings, one who had been thrown away, one who had been forgotten, one who had been lonely, and one moment, one cold night, one cardboard box, one dog who simply would not leave. that brought all three of them together. Think about how easy it would have been for things to go differently. If the dog had been tired and kept walking. If the woman had been in a hurry. If one more minute had passed. But it didn't go differently, because something in that dog, maybe instinct, maybe empathy, maybe something we don't have a word for, made him stay. We talk a lot about kindness. We share the word around, put it on posters, use it as a hashtag. But kindness, real kindness, looks like a stray dog in the snow, barking at strangers who don't care, lying down next to something cold and frightened, refusing to leave. It doesn't look glamorous. It doesn't ask for credit. It doesn't wait to see if it's convenient. It just stays. That dog had nothing. No home, no food, no certainty about his own tomorrow. And still, he gave everything he had to something even more vulnerable than himself. There's a lesson in that, I think. For all of us, not every act of compassion requires a grand gesture. Sometimes it just means stopping when everyone else keeps walking. Stop when it would be easier to look away. Stop when something small and quiet is asking you to pay attention. Stop if the story moved you, if it reminded you of something true and good about the world. Please subscribe so you never miss a story like this one. And drop your city in the comments below. I read every single one, and it means more than you know to see where kindness lives around this world. Red Heart. Until next time, take care of each other.